Okay, we're recording. I'm so excited for you guys to get to hear from Kara tonight. She is a rock star. She works this business full time, and I just think she has such a unique perspective to share. She doesn't have any kids yet, but she has a powerful, strong why. No excuses, works really hard, both in her full-time job plus with the business. And I just know you guys are just going to be so filled up and on fire from hearing her tips tonight. So let's go and get started. Kara, do you just want to go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody and tell everybody a little bit about yourself?
Sure. Hey guys, my name is Kara. I am 26 years old. I was born and raised in Durham, North Carolina, which is most known to be the home of the Blue Devils. And I am kidding completely, but that's where I went to school. I majored in psychology and chemistry, had intent of going to dental school. Worked in a dental office for about 5 years and just saw how the industry was changing in that short amount of time and realized that's not the path that I wanted to take. I started in the business at the end of February. Can you hear me now? Am I too far away? Better? Worse? No.
I can hear you.
Okay.
There was some background noise, but I tried to get everybody muted, so you should be good now.
Okay. I'll get a little bit closer. Sorry, I'm not sure what's going on. So I started at the end of February, and it has been such a blessing in my life. When I started, I was working full-time for a toxicology lab, doing operations and business development, and just was not happy at all. So it couldn't have fallen into my lap at a better time. I now work in at UNC Chapel Hill, actually, the rival, the other blue, what I call the lesser blue. But I am just really glad to be here and hopefully answer some good questions for you guys.
Okay, so the first question that I have for you, and I think that so many people are just dying to hear your tips with this, is how do you balance the business with working a full-time job?
Yeah, I think that's been one of the hardest things for me. When I first started out, I had a lot more flexibility in my schedule. I worked from home a lot of the week. Only went into the office maybe 1 or 2 days. And so if I'm being 5,000% honest with you guys, it made me really anxious to know that I was going into an environment where I was basically going to be working an 8 to 5. And if I get even more honest, that first week, the first week of my new job, I barely posted. I was giving myself time to get acclimated. But what I quickly realized is that time that I was giving myself kind of backfired. I started feeling really guilty. I felt like I wasn't making the most of my time. And I knew that in the long run, this is something that I wanted to do as a full-time career. I want to come home. I don't want to have to go into the office. I don't want to have to wake up at 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning. And so what I kind of have been practicing ever since that first week is making sure that I'm doing my simple daily disciplines, is what I like to call it. I think it's really easy to think that you can go from 0 to 5,000. You know, you join the business because you see someone who's doing well, right? But it's kind of unrealistic to get to that point overnight. So what I like to say to a lot of the people on my team is you have to figure out what your simple daily disciplines are. What are those things that you do every single day that are going to compound over time to get you to that place, to get you to where you want to go? And your schedule is going to look different. It's different for everyone, right? So I'll give you an example for me. What I found is that posting is something that I'm not willing to compromise on. I'm not one of those people that has to reinvent the wheel. We have plenty of people that have already figured out how to make this a successful business venture for them. So I know that for our team, attraction marketing is huge. So that's one of my non-negotiables. I know that I have to post every single day. Now, when I post is what became kind of the issue for me because, you know, I'm sitting at a desk. I share an office with someone else. So for me, what that looks like is in the morning, before I go to work, I'm taking a picture, and I'm not going to advocate for this at all, but at least I have my picture. So at the stoplights, if I'm typing out my messages there, that's fine. But before I get into my office at work, I have to have a post up, at least one post. And it's turned out good for me. I think that we all put a lot of emphasis on aesthetically appeasing profiles, which is important. You want to engage and you want to draw people in. But for me, I found that I was overthinking it a little bit. I was spending way too much time on pictures, and more than anything, the most important thing is to get content up that people can see about your life. So yeah, I get that picture, and first thing in the morning, it's taken right before I get in the car. 9 times out of 10, that message is written either before I leave or on the way to work. At lunchtime, that's another time that I have free. Before I leave work or as soon as I get home. And then obviously you have a little bit more flexibility. But just like all of us, I think at this point in our business are able to spot when you're talking to potentials that, you know, they'll say, oh, I don't have enough time. Just like we are able to point that out as an excuse, like, yes, it's a reason, but more than a reason, it's an excuse. We have to have that same discernment in our life to say, you know what, saying that I don't have time to do this is just merely an excuse. If it means enough to you, you'll find the time to do it.
I love it. That's one of my favorite things, you guys, about Kara is just from day one, even as a newbie who had no clue what she was doing, she was like, okay, whatever I got to do, I'll figure it out. And I just think that's just like, she just is so good about redirecting everything back to basics. Like she said, you know, don't overthink it, just do it. One thing, Kara, I'm really excited for you to share with everybody about, because I feel like you'll just speak to so many different audiences. Kara does a great job of blending attraction marketing with cold messaging. She has like a really good blend of both. And she's actually was talking to me about it last night. And she said something that was so simple, yet just stood out to me so much. She was like, I like to know at the end of the day, I'm just giving it my all. So she was like, I'm literally attacking it from both angles. So I wanted you to just kind of share a little bit about like what that looks like for you. Because I know you do still practice really strong posting, but you are, you know, especially on Instagram messaging too. So can you tell everybody kind of like your strategies there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I stick with the basics for messaging. I stick to the 3 to 6 posts a day, making sure to get in a personal post, something that has absolutely nothing to do with the business, making sure to get in something about the product. I like to do 2 of those. In the morning, I try and incorporate how I'm using the product. So whether that's the greens or keto coffee, even midday, sometimes I'll do a keto energy. And then making sure I'm getting in a before and after. That's the second post that I do about the business. And then telling my story at the end of the night. So I'm trying to stick to that 3 to 6 rule for posting. But then on the flip side of that, I think really in June, at the beginning of June, I don't know what it was. It was just like, okay, I'm ready to do this. Like 5,000%, I want to do this. And I felt like I was posting, I was doing all of the things that I thought that I should be doing. I was engaging with my timeline. I was making sure to show a lot of love to people that I thought would be good potentials. But it just felt like people weren't coming into me or messaging me, reaching out to me. And I know that like there's different seasons of the business. Like you have your seasons where you're planting the seeds, and then obviously when they harvest, and you have to be patient during those cycles. But my personality is like, okay, I want to do everything. I want to make sure that I'm doing everything that I can. So that's when I started thinking about cold messaging. And it's worked well. I know you have to have your mind in the right place. When you're doing that, you'll get a lot of no's or no responses. But for me, the way that I think about that is your no is just closer to your next yes. So you might get, 50 no's, but then that one yes could be your next, amazing distributor. So I've been trying to do a little bit of both. But I definitely would not recommend doing cold messaging if you aren't strong in your self-development, personal development, because your mind does have to be pretty strong for that. I tried it at the beginning of my business, and it didn't work out as well as it has been recently.
I love that. And that's one thing, guys, like I love what she said about you have to be strong in your self-development, because in this business, it's not all, roses and sunshine all the time when it comes to talking to potentials. Not everybody signs right when you want them to. And very often, you will hear a no that's in reality just a not right now. But like Kara said, like having your mindset sharp is going to be able to help you have that discernment to know like, okay, that's just a no for right now. Like that doesn't mean it's no forever. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to get a yes. Kara, I wanted you to share with everybody, like, just like what you've learned. Cause you said something just now about like, I tried at the beginning and it didn't work for me, but now that my mindset's stronger, it is. I know we were talking about this last night, but can you just share a little bit with, the team, like kind of what you were talking about last night about like what you've learned about yourself through the business and having your mindset right?
Yeah, I feel like this business is great in so many different ways. Like obviously there's the friendship, fun, freedom, like that's one of the taglines. But more than that, like this business will magnify all of your weaknesses and force you to fix them. But then at the same time, it'll help you realize strengths that you didn't even know that you had. So I feel like this has really worked from the inside out to make me a better person, to make me a better human, to make me understand. I've always really enjoyed learning about interpersonal relationships. I was a psych major, like that was my jam, right? But I've also always been really shy. And so this has pushed me outside of my comfort zone. Never in a million years would I think that I would be posting on social media. I scrolled back just for the heck of it one day. And on Facebook, it had been literally like 1 or 2 years since I had made a post before starting It Works. And on Instagram, it had been something like 2 to 3 months. So this was just so far outside of my comfort zone, so far from anything that I ever thought that I would be doing. But it's helped me become a better me, like, and not just in the business, but in every facet of my life, which I really enjoy. And this is something that I was talking to Brittany about last night. I realized very quickly that this is not a get rich quick scheme, but it's a get rich real plan. So if you're doing those things, if you're, staying consistent, if you have faith, in the long run, it works out 10 times out of 10. I haven't met anyone that is still doing this that considers it a failure. It's the people that give up before they've gotten to whatever their idea of success is. So for me, disappointments, and I know I said this about the cold messaging, but disappointments are just like a learning opportunity for you to get it right, for you to hone your skills a little bit better so that you can work your business a little bit better than you were before, or your mind is a little bit sharper than it was before. There are no failures. It's just opportunities to get better.
I love that so much. I think that is one thing that you just taught me, just that, I feel like every conversation we've had, it doesn't matter what goes wrong in your day. I don't think I've ever heard you say anything negative. You're just like, well, this is how I'm going to fix it. This is how I'm going to adapt. I wanted you to share, whenever things do happen, like something, maybe someone that you thought was going to sign doesn't sign, or just something does go wrong in your day, what are your tactics because you're so good at redirecting and pulling yourself back on track? What is some advice you would give to maybe someone that's new, or maybe someone that just feels like they're really stuck in their business? Just practical tips on getting yourself back on track.
Yeah, I think a huge part of it for me is reminding myself of what I have. So I know that sounds super ambiguous, but knowing that the people that are successful, I look at people like you and Claire and all the leaders on our team, you guys got there for a reason. So with loyal customers in particular, the whole, I want to be politically correct here, the whole song and dance about do they work? Is this a scam? You have to have confidence in our products. That means using the products, but then it also just is a gut intuition that people wouldn't be successful. People wouldn't have retired their families if these products didn't work. So first and foremost, grounding yourself and knowing that the products that we have are amazing, so that when you're confronted with those opportunities, you have creative answers, rebuttals almost, for any doubts that you might face. So with loyal customers in particular, but with distributors, this is going to sound kind of bad, but when people aren't interested, I don't waste too much time on that, especially when cold messaging. I'm not going to spend too much time trying to convince you how amazing this is, because for that, 5 minutes that I could have been massaging them and talking them into the business opportunity, that could have been 2 to 3, 4, or 5 other people that I could have talked to in that amount of time. So just knowing the business and the products that we have in our lap, and being confident in that, and knowing that there's someone out there that needs them. You just have to find who those people are. And I don't think you can ever say the wrong thing to the right people. So I don't put a lot of emphasis on getting the perfect message or getting, the combination of perfect messages together. I just try and reach as many people as I can, but still strategic and intentional about that.
I love that. I love how you said, for not getting too caught up in the people that weren't interested, because for every person that's not interested, you could be talking to 5 more rather than wasting your time. I think that's so good, because so often we just get so down about that one person that said something negative or wasn't, we thought we were going to sign and wasn't. But there's so many people waiting around the corner for this opportunity. And if we spend too much time dwelling on that, we miss those people that we could be reaching. That's so good. Okay, you build primarily on Instagram. I know you're posting duplicate to Facebook and Instagram, but I know you shared with me that most of your business comes from Instagram. What are some specific things that you can share with everybody that you're doing to like really like focus on building strong on Instagram?
I think one of the biggest things that I have done is grown my following. So when I started, this goes back to the whole never thinking that I would ever do anything like this. I had 321 followers when I started. Not a whole lot of friends. My circle is pretty small. I'm close to my immediate family, but it was just kind of outside of my realm of how I would ever reach anyone. And I've grown my following to about it's close to 5,000. So every single day, just being very intentional about growing my network. And I do it on Facebook as well, but we all know you can't do it to the same magnitude, right? So growing my network would be something that I'm super consistent about on Facebook. Engaging with my timeline would be another, and not just going down and liking like every single picture that comes up, but also commenting, making sure that people know that I'm really looking into their profile, especially if it's someone that I think would be good at the business or enjoy the products, making sure that I'm being very intentional about showing them lots of love and warm fuzzies. And then polls is something huge. So I did use Snapchat, believe it or not, before starting the business. And so people are nosy and they like to know what you're doing, especially if they're following you, right? So making sure to incorporate things throughout your day, not just, business opportunities or things about the products, but, I woke up this morning, and some people I know do it in the form of almost like vlog style, like videos back to back to back, like, good morning guys, today I'm going to do such and such and such. I normally just stick with pictures. So, if I'm out with my boyfriend or my sisters getting a smoothie, I might snap, me and Jamba Juice. But making sure to keep a good balance in stories. But I do find that the poll function on Instagram, almost even more than Facebook, I know they've added that within the last couple months, but the polls really, really work well for me.
I love that. And I love your stories. Your stories are always so enticing. And she does a great job, like she said, guys, of just like normal everyday things, like when she's out and about. And I just want to say real quick, because she's like way too humble, she won't hone in on this too hard. But if y'all didn't catch that, she's only been in 4 months, you guys, and she started with 300 followers and she's up over 5,000. This is like majorly convicted me, because I just now hit I think just shy of 6,000. And I started off with 300. I've been in 2 years. And when she told me like, oh, by the way, I'm over 5,000 followers, I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, talk about like majorly growing your following and rapidly. I wanted you to share though, before we run out of time, what, are you find like for lifestyle posts? Cause obviously like, I know we hear this question a lot, like people who are moms are posting about their kids a lot and things like that. But like, what do you find that are really great posts to throw up during the day that are like mixing it up from not just post about the products and post about the business, but post about your everyday life?
Yeah, you actually helped a lot with this. I think this comes back into like the business really helping you become a more well-rounded human. I took a step back and tried to figure out who are you? Like if you saw someone in the elevator, or if you were catching up with like a friend from college, how would you describe your life? What are a few characteristics, a few adjectives that you would use? And that becomes your brand. So for me, mine are faith, family, friends. I post about my boyfriend every now and then, and I post a lot about food and working out. So those are kind of like my general kind of topics that I like to stay within. I very rarely make posts that are outside of that little bubble. But figuring out, first and foremost, everyone isn't a mom. Everyone isn't married at this stage in their life, and that's fine. But all of us do have characteristics that make us a person, that make us unique, that make us special. And it's trying to figure out, okay, take 5 minutes to figure out what those characteristics are. And then it makes everything else a little bit easier. You take a little less pressure and a little less stress off of yourself. Something that I found helpful for me is taking pictures of interesting things so that I have kind of a stockpile of photos to choose from. And it doesn't have to be, taking 50 photos on your trip to Europe. The other day it was raining outside, and when we went out to the car, the raindrops were beautiful on the hood of the car. So I told my boyfriend to like stay off in the distance a little bit, so he was kind of blurry. And I took a picture that focused on the raindrops, something completely, but he was like in the background, something that's completely random, but it was a cool picture opportunity to have for later on when I might not be, you know, dressed up in the cutest clothes or, you know, wearing the perfect makeup, you know? So I found that just figuring out what your brand is, taking pictures for those days that you might not have the cutest outfit, and then really being intentional about staying inside of your brand has helped me kind of frame my profile.
Sorry, I was trying to get unmuted. Okay, and then another thing I wanted you to share, you read 2 like really incredible books lately that I know because you were sending me all those quotes. Could you share with everybody what those are? Because I know that you got a lot out of those.
Yeah, I reread Relentless. I believe the author is Tim Grover, if I am not mistaken, but he is actually an NBA trainer, and he shares a lot of different stories about the athletes that he has trained. But in doing so, he categorizes people as what they are. So they're cleaners, and then there's 2 other different levels of individuals and the characteristics that are associated with those adjectives. So relentless is huge. Chop wood, carry water, and I'll have to figure out who the author is on that one, is probably one of the best books that I've read this year, hands down. And then my third one, I read this a while back, but I always tell people, like when people join my team, this is one of my first suggestions, is The Slight Edge. And it kind of goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning, realizing that whatever your goals or dreams are in life, you're not going to achieve them overnight. But if you break down whatever that goal is into tiny compartments, I call them simple daily disciplines, and do those every single day, compounded over time. I think there's another book that's similar, The Compounding Effect. I haven't read that one, but it talks about just compounding those small things. You know, you want to lose 30 pounds. You're not going to wake up tomorrow 30 pounds lighter, but if you can commit to, even if it's 15 minutes a day, eventually you're going to reach your goal. So that would be a third book, The Slight Edge.
Awesome. Thank you. I put those in the chat for anybody that wants to write those down, but I can, even though I haven't read these yet, they're on my list of to read because of Kara. I can attest that they're great books because she sent me like lots of quotes from them and they look like amazing. Okay. Actually, I'll ask that last question in just a second. When do you, like with working a full-time schedule, when do you find time to do your self-development? For anyone that's on here that's like, oh, I just don't have the time. When are you squeezing that in?
Yeah, I'm also a Stephen Furtick. I'm hearing some. There we go. Okay. I'm also a Stephen Furtick fan. Elevation started in Charlotte and has moved different campuses. And there's a campus that's 20 minutes from my house. So I go to that sometimes on Sundays, and I'll pull up those messages in the morning when I'm getting dressed. As far as reading, I love a good sermon, and obviously it's super important for me in my life to be grounded in Jesus and the Word. But I also like more professional development books that will give me tactics, specific tactics for specific situations. So I like to read either at nighttime. Sometimes I'll take my book and read it during lunchtime at work. But just finding, like I said at the beginning, finding that time, even if it's broken down into 10, 15, 20-minute intervals.
I love that. Again, just no excuses, guys. Like any free time she has, she's working her business, pouring into her mind, and that's like what's carrying her through like the times that maybe things aren't working out perfectly. And I just think we can all learn so much from that because things aren't always going to be exactly the way we want. If we're utilizing the time that we have, at the end of the day, we're going to know, okay, I'm giving this my all, I'm doing my best, and I'm getting closer to my goal. Okay, we have like about 5 minutes left. If there's just like anything else that you want to share, Kara, like that's on your heart. I know that you just have so much wisdom to share with people that aren't where they want to be yet. Like what are just some last things you want to share with the group?
Yeah.
Sorry to say that.
No, it's fine. I think just reminding yourself constantly why you said yes in the first place. Staying super grounded in a strong why. Because I think it's easy to say, you know, I want more money or I need more money, but there's a root cause of why, or in my opinion, there should be a root cause of why, whether it's creating a more promising financial future, financial freedom, providing for your family, giving back to your parents, giving back to your community, changing the world in some way. There has to be a strong, grounded reason why you're doing this. And I think that makes it easier every single day to wake up, regardless of what you're going through, to justify, you know, those nights that you stay up until 1 o'clock still messaging with people, or it justifies being in a meeting and having to step out, or feeling anxious that you're not getting all your posts up in time. Anytime that your things aren't going exactly your way, having that strong why is super important. I think beyond that is knowing that, like, 50,000 foot view, this is a long-term commitment. This is not just something that's going to happen overnight. And staying super strong in personal development. I was talking to Brittany last night. I was watching a training, and I believe that Brittany said this, but there's people that start out and, you know, they promote, and then it's dead for a couple months. And sometimes those people will fall off. Well, I saw myself a little bit in that statement, because I promoted to executive my first month, Ruby my second month, and I haven't promoted since. And I feel like if I was not doing my self-development, if I was not intentional about the business and making it a priority and remembering why I started, it's very easy to say, you know what, well, this just must not have been for me. When all of us know in reality, it's for everyone that makes it a priority, that chooses this business for their life. So making sure to stay strong in personal and self-development, remembering your why, being consistent, and just having faith, like having faith in yourself, but also having faith in God that he wouldn't have brought you to an opportunity if he wasn't going to see you through it.
Yes, I love that so much. And I think sometimes, you know, he tests us and makes sure that we're still relying on him heavily, because I think it's easy when we do go fast, like to start relying on our own strengths. And I know for me, like, God's reminded me so many times during this business, like, hey, like, you still have to rely on me. Like, I'm still the one that, like, carries you through. So I love that you said that, just taking a step back and, like, remembering, like, it's for anyone. He didn't bring you this far, he only bring you this far. So, all right. Well, thank you so much. I think we're, like, right at about 30 minutes now. So I'm so glad that all of you were able to be on and hear from Kara. She just, like, speaks so much into me every day, and she doesn't even know it. I love our conversations, and know she has so much to offer and so much to share for so many of you that maybe you're feeling a little stuck or feeling like you're not where you want to be. So thank you so much, Kara. And I can't even wait to see what happens at the end of this month for you. You're just on fire. And I'm so excited for everyone else with this promotion. So make sure you're maximizing this promotion and utilizing the tips that you're getting from everybody, because, guys, July is just going to blow us out of the water. So anyways, you guys have a good night. I don't want to ramble on too long, and I'll get the recording up as soon as I can. Bye, guys.